Gaming Mayhem. Today we're going to do a little bit different. I thought it might be interesting to kind of give a little review of a book. We're going to do the Imperial Armour 13 here. And I know some of the other guys do this, and I think sometimes it's more from a little bit more of a competitive standpoint, etc. So I'm going to go through the units in this book because I've been researching it rather intently for my Slaanesh army to see what I felt fit and what didn't, and what I wanted to use and how I could use it. So again, with the Forge World books, they're really nice, beautiful print. The pictures are fantastic. The fluff is always there. The one thing they're lacking is weapon profiles, which can be really frustrating because a couple of them, I know, like the Flamestorm cannon, it's not in the Chaos Marine book, which a lot of guns aren't in that book either. You know, they reference stuff and it says like go to page 191 and you go there and you can't find it. But again, they're all somewhere. So as far as that, I will give them a ding off for that. But otherwise, this is a really nice book. They did a lot of really different things, I think, to help Chaos be a more, just give them a little bit more, because I think the base codex is kind of lacking in some respects, especially when you're trying to really theme an army, since you can no longer really take an entire, you can take a themed army, mind you, and I'm doing it, but you used to be able to, if you wanted a Slaanesh army, you could take an all-Sonic army, and now you can, there's a PDF out there from Armageddon where it lets you do some stuff, but everything's swapping for free. Sure, I guess you could do it. There's no models. It's, you know, you get to put like the Blastmaster on a Predator and that kind of stuff, but it just doesn't feel, it doesn't feel official at all. It feels a bit sketchy, especially since most of the things don't cost points and a couple cost 5, and you know, you need to really think about the theme of your army. And to me, as far as competitive play, sure, Chaos, you go with Chaos Undivided. For me personally, playing the game, I won't do that. I always take very themed Chaos armies. Like with my Slaanesh army, everything has to be taken in a multiple of 6. Except in the rare cases where things can't be, like chariots, but then I model each chariot to have 6 models on it. Just to keep within that thematic. So you could take 12 of something, or 18 or 24, that's fine, but it has to stay within the sacred number. You know, you get within Khorne, it's a little easier. I mean Tzeentch, 9. It's a little bit easier to do that, but I think it's important, especially with Chaos, when to keep some kind of theme to it, or it becomes more of a generic army, and you can lose focus as to what you're supposed to do with it. Because the units and the marks have very specific advantages that focus on the attacks, so if you don't think about that beforehand, you're going to end up with a mishmash of an army. But again, it gives you the most opportunity to have a cool looking army. So let's go over what we got in here. The Predator Battle Tank, which is just fluff, so I'm not really sure why they put it in here, but it's got, you know, good background, talks about the history of them. The Infernal Relic Predator, it lets you take rending ammo, and you get the, you can basically upgrade your gun, and it's got the Demonic Possession in there, automatic, well, with the Infernal Relic. The Infernal Relic is a weird rule. You can only take 1 Infernal Relic unless you have a guy, unless you take a Chaos Sorcerer or a Chaos Warpsmith and call him your guy. And maybe there's a lot of armies that never take one of those, but I don't know. I always have a Warpsmith or a Sorcerer in my army, so you can take more. They're supposed to represent older and more unique vehicles. With the Predator, you get some extra gun choices, and you can take the Malefic ammo on all your bolters. So this is really, I mean, really, it's actually a pretty cool upgrade, especially if you're fighting like Nids or Orcs. It's really beneficial. Against your elite armies, it could be. It really depends on what you're fighting. We got a guy who plays an armored company, so against that, it's utterly useless. But well, I mean, not necessarily. I guess you could get lucky, because technically it's rending, so if you roll 6s, but you see my point. I think it gives it gives you just a little more variation. The Vindicator Siege Tank, same thing. That's the same one from the book. The Sakaran Battle Tank, which I'm taking one of these because it's fast, and I feel Slaanesh army should be very fast. It's a really cool looking model. You got the crazy autocannon. So this guy, I mean, you're laying out a lot of shooting damage. You got a fast vehicle, so this thing can move all around the board and just lay waste to the battlefield. Now, it is only strength 7, so if you're going against Titans and stuff, you know, it might not be the most useful vehicle, but in a general rule, he's a pretty bad boy. Plus, it's a really, really cool looking model. And again, they describe it as being one of the ancient tanks, and they're super rare. So this is a cool centerpiece. It's not going to be, you're not going to have 3 of them in your army, but it's something you can really paint up to look cool and kind of a centerpiece of your army there. The assault vehicles. Chaos Land Raider, we know what that is. The Land Raider Proteus. This one kind of bums me out. Part of me doesn't really understand how to use it in the game. I love the model. I think it looks really cool. But the problem is you lose the assault vehicle rule and gain the thing where if anybody shoots at you, they have to take a pinning test. Well, you know, most of the time I'm fighting somebody like a Space Marine who never fails a pinning test anyway, so that isn't that beneficial. But losing the assault vehicle, I'm kind of confused by what I would do with this vehicle. Who would I put in there? So for me, it can only hold 10 models, so that means I can only have a unit of 6. I guess I could put shooting guys in there and move them around, but that's what I use my rhinos for. So I don't know. I love the model, and at some point I might get one just because I want to paint it, but I don't know. Maybe let me know what you guys really use the Proteus for. Is it just seems like it doesn't make any sense. It's kind of expensive and doesn't serve any real purpose. The Infernal Relic Achilles. Now this is one of them I went ahead and took because it can lay down the firepower. It only has a transport capacity of 6, but it has a lot. It can lay a lot of firepower with it. So my idea is I can throw a group of Sonic Marines in there with their shooting, dump them off, let them shoot their salvo, then let them shoot again. They're next to a Dirge caster, so they could charge in the second round. So in theory, I guess you could say you could use this the same as the Proteus, but with the Achilles, you've got a lot of firepower on it, you know, from the grenade launchers, that it makes more sense. I don't know, it seems more beneficial to me. You got the Rhino, they just talk about rhinos. Heavy tanks, you got the Fellblade and Typhon. Again, they're badass, super heavy tanks. I'm not particularly fond of them. I mean, I think they're kind of cool. I like the Typhon. Doesn't fit my Slaanesh army, but I would definitely use that like in a Nurgle army. I think it's very, because it has that slowish, I don't know, rot feeling in it, to me. Both are extremely useful. I mean, the Fellblade, you got your D weapon or your ridiculous blast template. The Typhon, you got a strength 10 AP 1 blast template. So, I mean, again, these are big, super heavy tanks. In smaller games, I don't know. I feel these things are a little bit icky. I wouldn't use them. But we generally play at 3,000 plus, so we throw that crap out all the time, and it's not that big of a deal. One of the guys plays a Baneblade. I just run up with a horde of knobs and blow it up. But again, at the higher point levels, you can do that. You can kind of deal with stuff like that. On a competitive level, super heavy tanks are kind of nasty. I mean, they're really hard to deal with, especially you get 1,500 or lower. It's really nasty to have stuff to deal with those in a all-comers list. Now, the Spartan Assault Tank. This thing is really cool. Great model as well. I love the model. And I'm going to be using this for my Lord and his retinue of his squad that he'll be in. So you can hold up to 25 guys. So you've got a big mass that can come out of an assault vehicle. So to me, this is where the close combat guys come in. You get your guys with no attack, like you're possessed, or no shooting attacks, or even like Khorne Berserkers, something along those lines. This puppy can move, fly them up there, dump them out, and they can charge in the first first turn. Now, again, waiting a turn makes more sense. This is not a Lord of War. It's just a heavy support choice. So you've got tons of armor. So you can move it up turn 2 so it's within your 6 inches. You got your dirge casters going so your guys can charge up there. They don't get overwatched and they wade into combat, you know, leveling out some poor unit. So I think this is a great choice. Again, it looks super cool. I don't know if you haven't seen the model, it's bigger than a Land Raider, like significantly. It's a big model. So for proxying purposes, there really isn't anything I've seen that's close to the same size. It's well worth getting. The attack craft. So here's where you kind of get all the other Space Marine stuff that they have, and they gave them all to the Chaos. You got the Storm Eagle assault gunship, which that's the one with the transport capacity. So you can fly around and you got 10 dudes. It's basically think of like a flying rhino with a bunch of guns. It's really cool. I didn't want it for mine because I just didn't want to do the airborne assault. I figured I had I had a lot of rhinos, so that's my assault method of it. But again, very cool looking model. I went ahead and I stuck with a Chaos Fire Raptor. That's the gunship one. I love the way it looks. I love the independent turrets on the side, and it didn't have the transport capacity. So for me, it was a better choice. Both those again, great ships. Thunderhawk for Chaos. Thunderhawk is a cool model. It's huge. They're fun to paint. It's a gorgeous model. My only problem with it is it's really big, and to support it on the stands and put it on the battlefield, it's actually kind of irritating. With our guys, I've said, really, if you want to use a Thunderhawk, just grab 2 flying bases and use them, because the thing's so big and it's heavy that you can't. It's in the middle of the board while everybody's trying to move underneath the thing to move their dudes and get stuff around it. You're half the time you're terrified you're going to bump into the poor thing and it's going to fall over and break a wing off or something. The Thunderhawk and the Manta has this problem as well. To me, have always just been, they're more like showpieces. Since the actual footprint of the vehicle doesn't really matter that much. I mean, if you want to go by the gun ports a little bit, but it's not that important for the game, and it's just so fidgety to have on a table, and since it doesn't actually occupy the space it covers, it's just kind of annoying. I think they're more of a showpiece. Now, as far as taking the thing, depending on what you've got, if you've got you got a horde of Marines, you want to jump out of this thing, sure. It's a really badass vehicle anyway. I don't ever want to paint one personally. I did one on the crash board, and for me, I got bored of painting it, so I wouldn't get one for that reason alone. But as far as being effective in gameplay, the thing's really hard to blow up too, because it's a super heavy flyer. I mean, it could be. I would say honestly, under 2,000 point games, the thing's not. It's horrible. It would be unfair. You're laying down horrific amounts of fire, and unless the other guy happened to take a bunch of stuff with some really high strength skyfire, he's screwed, and that's not fun for anybody. So I think that's relegated to your 3,000 plus games. Hellblade and Helltalon are both back. They changed them though. Now they have that weird where they flicker in and out and teleport to the side 6 inches. That's awesome. Not only does it give them a lot of character and differentiate them between a regular, not Chaos type of flyer, it makes them feel very unique in the Chaos aspect. But it also makes them much more effective, because some flyers can get blown out of the sky pretty easy, and these guys aren't cheap points-wise. So you want them to stay around. Both of them very cool. They upgraded their guns. If you like the Chaos flyers, I think they're really cool. I prefer the more vehicle approach to the what is that? The dragon monster thing, and I forgot his name now. But I really like how these guys look. They used to have a formation where you could take 3 of the Hell Talons, but I don't see they don't have any formations in the book at all, which surprises me. But I guess that's because it's Forge World, not GW, who has an obsession with formations. You got the Dreadclaw and the Cribitus Assault Claw. So now Chaos can get dedicated transport, drop pods. Hooray! These aren't Space Marine drop pods. They come down and then they're a hover flyer. So while they come in like drop pods on turn 1, splitting in half, they then get to move around. So you can actually drop them in. Let's say you come in on turn 1, then you move around your pod. Then in turn 2 you dump them out. It is an assault vehicle, so they can assault. So it's a very different playstyle tactically than you would have with a Space Marine drop pod. Again, these are not cheap, so you're not gonna... I mean, you could make an all drop pod army, but dollar-wise, it would be insane. You just be blowing so many points on these guys. They have the cool little jet engine blast they do, and when they come in to kind of knock people away, it's okay. But the fact you can move around, I think it's very useful. You can take them as dedicated transports for your regular Marines, Chosen, and then the dreadnoughts from the Forge World book. Not Hellbrutes or anything. So you can put Sonic Dreadnoughts in there, Contemptor Dreadnoughts, and the Fairman Furnace Dreadnoughts, which we'll talk about. I think, honestly, throwing a Dreadnought in there is pretty cool. If you don't want to, let's say you don't want to deep strike him, and you want to wait, you come in on turn 1 with your drop pod, somewhere that makes sense. But then you got that turn to wait. They're probably not going to blow it up because it is a flyer. You got that turn to wait to see where you want to actually move him to. Do you want to grab that objective that you pull on your card, or do you want to, plop him down somewhere and knock somebody out of a building or away from an objective so one of your other guys can take it? So I think the drop pod adds a lot of interesting ideas for the play style. I'm going to use 1 in my army for a Dreadnought, but I could see maybe taking 2 of them, but they're like I said, they're kind of expensive, and I think you're gonna gimping yourself if you took too many. Now the big boy, the Assault Claw thing. You've seen that model? That thing is it's huge. If you look at the Forge World site, it's like double the size of a drop pod. It can hold a lot of models. You get 20 guys that can go in it, so it could be really scary. It's really expensive. It does have a lot of guns. It's got like 5 missile launchers on the thing. You can fly over people and burn them with your engines. It almost seems like you just throw some throwaway unit in it, like a reserve. Think of it almost like a reserve, and run around using this thing as an annoying attack vehicle. Because a lot of this, especially when you bring down something like that, you're for some reason your average player freaks out. They get scared of them. And I notice this a lot. They get scared, so it isn't necessarily that scary, but they're going to focus a lot of attention on it. So they're sitting there blowing this thing up, and then you go grab your objectives while they're blowing up your Assault Claw. I debated this for my army, but I just can't. I really can't find a place for it within my theme that it works. So I probably won't get one. I don't know too. I'm curious if anybody has one. How fidgety those legs are. They look like the thing looks like it really wants to break on you all the time. The way the claws sit down. Dreadnoughts, Fairman Furnace Dreadnought. That's a basic Dreadnought, but you get some other cool options you can take with them. These are using the older model of Dreadnought. I like the Destroyer Cities. You get the drill and a Flamestorm cannon, which I always like the fire stuff. But the drill's pretty cool because if you hit a transport or a building with people in it, you then pump fire into it and hit all the guys. Visually it's really cool. Not sure how often that's going to happen. Most people in their transports aren't going to let your Dreadnought run up and grab it. They got the other one where he can, when he dies, he can turn into a Chaos Spawn or a Demon Lord, which is pretty cool. This is just kind of like an alternate choice for more Dreadnought. That you can take. I like it. I think it's a cool idea. Makes them kind of fun. Sonic Dreadnoughts, yay! They have rules again. It's the Sonic Dreadnoughts. You can take them just like normal, one with Blastmaster, one with the Sonic Blaster. And they can take the missile launcher on the other arm, so you could have one of the sonic weapons and a missile launcher if you want a range guy. Again, great model, very cool overall. Contemptor dreadnoughts. They're the Contemptor dreadnoughts. They look cool. Just another alternate choice for a dreadnought. I love the models. I'm sure a lot of people do too. I've seen quite a few of those out there on painting stuff. So that's what it is. Go ahead and take them. They all have marks now, which I like, because you can't, in the Chaos book, I don't know why, but so many things can't be marked. In this, the marks all do different things. Slaanesh in particular, you get assault and defensive grenades, which is kind of cool actually, for like a dreadnought. And I'm not sure why they took the marks off of so many units in the main Chaos book in the last edition, so maybe we'll get an update of that. But this does give you the option to take a bunch of dreadnoughts marked. So if you want to make that really thematic army, these are the dreadnoughts are the way to go. Daemon engines. These are all kind of basically what you would think. Brass Scorpion, the Blood Slaughter, Blight Drones, Plague Hulk, they really haven't changed much. The same with the Decimator engine. The Chaos Rapier weapons carrier. Those are another thing that's kind of a little bit broken. Again, I think at higher point values, somebody's just going to barrage template you and you're going to kill them all. But you could take the laser destroyers and stuff. Lots of good weapon choices with those. They're fun. They're a great thing to take. You got the Reaver Titan, Warhound Titan. Again, pretty much the same as other editions. Yeah, if you want to take them, they're cool. I think Warhounds are more playable than Reavers. Reavers are awesome model. But again, I mean absolute minimum 3,000 point game before you could even field that silly thing. Then you got kind of the crux of the book. I know I babbled on a lot about the rest, but that's, again, because I'm making a Slaanesh army. The Renegades and Heretics list. This is your marked Imperial Guard Chaos list. So, I know a lot of people made custom versions of this, etc. Well, now you got official rules for it. You have ways to take marks and field an entire themed army for any of the gods. You can do Undivided. Lots of really cool rules, depending on what your HQ slot is, your demagogue, what they take, what mark they take. It opens up different units. You can take Plague Zombies, for example, if you take the if you playing a Nurgle army, but it's not just by the marks, because you also take a discipline, which lets you access different things too, like Master of the Horde and that kind of stuff. This is a very cool list. I think it'd be at some point I might expand my Slaanesh army to include the Heretics and Renegades, just to kind of play around with it. Again, it's a lot of models and a lot of converting because they're still Imperial Guard. They have a really cool leadership value, which is kind of sucky but variable depending on what's going on. Fantastic, it really is. I think it's a very fun list to make. If that's what you were looking to do, I highly recommend getting the book and going for it. They've got tons of choices. The only weird thing is the demons are limited to be only 25% of your army. So, personally, I wouldn't take a demon lord in that army anyway. If you look at the list, it's like, why? You can take gigantic tanks anyway, so you don't need it. But that's one thing they imposed on it. Other than that, you've got access to almost everything the Guard has access to. So it's well worth checking out. I think it'd be a fun list to play. I like the crazy leadership values and the fanatical aspect of the army. You've got then. They redid the demons. They're all basically updates. So if you had the old thing, you pretty much know what they do. Nothing fancy was done with them. They do have the Legacies of Ruin. Legacies of Ruin were in all the campaign books, which you can give them to. You can give one, I think, up to 3 in an army. Oh well, no. It's per 1,000 points you can have one Legacy of Ruin assigned to a vehicle, but only one. But they're unique, and they give you different things. Some give you, Hatred Space Marines, Hatred Orcs, Hatred Eldar. There's a lot of them make your vehicle cost fear, which aren't really vehicles causing fear. I guess it's fine if somebody happens to get in close combat with your vehicle, but I don't really understand that. But they're more thematic. Like, okay, my guy's from the Badab War, so he's going to have the Legacy of Ruin from Badab. Makes sense. It's a lot more thematic. Forge World tends to do that, so some of it you got to think about. Well, okay, if I want this, does it make sense or not for your playstyle? So that's really the book. Lots of great stuff in here. I recommend getting it, checking it out if you're a Chaos player, 100%. There's no way you won't find something you want to use. And that's it. So let me know what you thought of this type of review of this. If you want a little more detail, less detail, whatnot. So it's kind of my first attempt to try this, but I hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you here next time at Gaming Mayhem.